Hey guys, in this video, I'm going to show you how to create your very own personalized logo that you can use on your website. And I'm also going to show you how to create the Favicon for your website, which is the little icon that shows up in the tab when someone is on your website. And I'm going to show you how to do this using ChatGPT Plus and Canva Pro. So let's get right into it. Hey, for those of you that don't know me, my name is Jake Full, and I built a six-figure blogging business all on the side while I was working my 9-to-5 job. And I was able to quit my job and go full-time as an entrepreneur, doing what I love every single day. And I want to teach you exactly how to do the same. And so if that sounds interesting, make sure to click the link in the description below and sign up for my free 30-minute blogging masterclass. It's an entire overview of blogging and affiliate marketing and how easy it is to get your own website started, create a brand online, and start generating passive income every single month. Because I have built entire website templates in a box that you can import in less than 1 minute. And then I also have over 400 individual website templates that you can mix and match however you would like to create pages and blog posts 10 times faster than anybody else out there. And so make sure to click that link in the description below and get signed up for the free training. And let's get back to the video. So I wanted to first show you the finished logos for our personally branded websites. And we did all of this using only AI plus Canva Pro. So here is Ethan Blackwell's logo that we created. And this is really cool because this logo incorporates his initials of EB in the logo. So you can see the little E right there, which turns into a larger B and has it in this really cool stylistic look. And then here is the favicon for Ethan's website. Like I said, this is the logo that shows up in the little tab when someone is on your website. And so here is that same logo. We added a branded circle behind it using the brand colors that we got from the Cadence Global Color Palette. And then we gave it a nice transparent background. And then here is the logo that we created for Natalie Wood. We once again created this logo using only AI, which is really cool. It has an N in here and then it turns into a W and just shows us in a really clean, simplistic way. And then we have the nice geometric font with her name, Natalie Wood, at the bottom here. And then here is the favicon that we created for Natalie's site. It has that same NW logo. We blew it up a little bit and had it kind of bleeding out of the edges with a branded circle in the background using the Discover theme colors. And so I think you'll agree with me that these are really, really nice looking personal branded logos with your initials incorporated into them. And it's amazing because we can do this all using AI plus Canva Pro and get this done in less than 30 minutes. Now, I do want to preface this by saying that you are more than likely going to get better results if you use an actual graphic designer. Because even though AI is up and coming and there are new things being added all of the time, AI still isn't as creative as a human would be. And so if you want to directly work with a graphic designer who is going to know your brand better, be able to understand the look that you were going for, you could always hire a graphic designer off of Fiverr. And so here I am on Fiverr.com, and all I did is in the search is I searched for personal brand monogram, and I will have a link to Fiverr in the description below. And so you can see a number of designers pop up here, and I am not personally recommending any of these because I have not used any of them. So use this with your own risk, but just know that there are a number of different designers out there, and they do have different ratings here and a number of different reviews. So I would recommend generally going with someone who has a high rating and who has many reviews that have proven that they are good at what they do. But you can even see in the title here, it says, I will do creative initial letters, personal brand logo. And so that's something that you could look into, and you can generally pay somebody to create an initials logo for your personal brand on your website. And then they all have different tiers for different packages. And so you might pay anywhere from $25 to $100 for a personal branding logo for your website. But I do want to show you how to create your own personal branding logo using only AI plus Canva Pro, because I have spent the last several weeks devising a way and a solution that you can do this, and it's really, really cool. So let's get into it. So I'm going to show you how to create your own personal branding logo using ChatGPT Plus. Now keep in mind that this is a paid service, and you do need ChatGPT Plus in order to get image generation. I have tried creating these logos with a number of different AI tools out there, including ones such as Midjourney, Jasper, and Bing. And I've personally found found that ChatGPT Plus seems to give me the best results by far. But do keep in mind that various AI models are constantly being updated and released, and this thing is only going to get better with time throughout all the various tools. So once you sign up for ChatGPT Plus, you will have the option to choose ChatGPT 4, which includes DALL-E, which is what we will use for the image generation. And it also gives you a number of different things such as data analysis and some other cool features. At the current time of making this video, you are limited to 40 messages in every 3 hours. So you can't really hound on this and create hundreds and hundreds of logos. You will have to wait, but I do think that within 40 messages, you should for sure find a logo that you will like for your website. So I'm gonna choose ChatGPT 4 here, and then you'll wanna open up a new chat by choosing this button right here in the upper left. And so here is the prompt that we're going to be using. Please keep in mind that we are constantly playing with new prompts, and so I will include the prompt in the description below, and if we find different prompts that give even better results, we'll make sure to update that. And so here's the prompt that we have. It says, please create a simple flat black vector logo incorporating the letters EB, which is the initials for Ethan Blackwell, in double quotes here, in a stylistic way on a white background. And then we are a little bit redundant here, but I really want to hammer on the fact that I only want a black logo with a white background. So I said the logo should be all black and the background should be white. There should be no other colors or gradients. There should be no realistic details or shading. So I found that when I was running this before and didn't include some of these things, it was including gradients in the logo, or it would include some shadows and things. And when you have that, it makes it really hard to vectorize that logo and turn it into something that we can use inside Canva. And keep in mind that AI is pretty unpredictable. So many times you might get the results you want, but other times it might spit out something that makes no sense. And so it's just a matter of finding the right prompt and running it enough times to get the desired result. All right, so let's hover over the send message and click that. So you can see it sent the prompt there, and ChatGPT says it's creating image. This will only take about 10 to 15 seconds and it'll be ready. All right, so ChatGPT has created my logo. I got really lucky and got a fantastic logo to start out. And it says, here is a simple flat black vector logo incorporating the letters E and B in a stylistic way on a white background. And this is exactly how you want your logo to look. It should have an all white background, and the logo itself should only be black, because this is going to be the cleanest way that we can transfer this over to Canva and then add to it so we can add our name and everything else. Now, you will very likely not get the desired result on your very first try. So you can keep running the prompt to get different logos, and it will give you an idea of what you might want to go for, because you might not even know what you're looking for, but many times ChatGPT will create things that even I didn't think about, and it will incorporate my initials in a really cool way. So keep running the prompt until you find something that you like, and then you're ready for the next step. So since I have the logo that I would like now, I'm going to come up here to the upper left and click this download icon to download our logo. All right, so I'm using Chrome and it downloaded the logo up here. I can click show in folder, and then I would probably just rename this because it just gives it a name with the prompt that you used with ChatGPT Plus. So just give it a name that's a little more simple, such as your name dash logo. All right, so now the next step is to import this file that we just downloaded from ChatGPT Plus into Canva. And I do want to note that many of the features that we will be using in this tutorial do require Canva Pro, but as I'll mention in other videos and throughout this course, Canva Pro is by far one of the best tools that I have ever invested in for my blog, because you can use this to create all different customized images and things for your website that we're going to use inside your blog posts. And your blog posts and your site in general looks so much better when you can create your own original customized images. It only costs around $10 a month right now, and it gives insane value for what you get. So I'll have a link to Canva in the description below. And if you do not already have an account, simply just sign up for an account with Canva, and then you'll be brought to the main dashboard page that you see right here. All right, so what we need to do is we need to import that design from ChatGPT Plus. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna come up here and click create a design. And then at the very bottom here, there's an option that says import file. So choose that. All right, so that will come up with a file chooser, and you are just going to simply choose the file that you just downloaded from ChatGPT Plus. And then it will bring up this modal here that has the name of your logo, and we're going to click a button that says use in a new design. And then it will show a drop down here with a number of options. We're gonna choose this first option here that says custom size, and then you should see that it will pre-fill with 1024 by 1024, which is the file size that ChatGPT gave you. And then I'm just gonna click create new design. All right, so here is the image that we got from ChatGPT. It is imported into a new Canva design with the resolution of 1024 by 1024. Now, the very first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to remove the background so that we no longer have this white background. And that's why it's so important to have an image that is simply black and white like this one here, because it's going to make removing the background way easier. So I'm hovering on the image here and I'm going to click that. And then in the upper left, I'm going to choose edit photo. So you can see there's this Magic Studio area. And the very first option that is listed here is BG remover, which is a background remover. And you will notice that there is a little crown here in the bottom right of some of these. And that means that it is a Canva Pro feature. So I'm going to come and choose the background remover here. And that will go and analyze the image and remove the background for us. And it's already done. Even though the background still looks white, you can tell that it's done because you'll see a little settings panel here over the background remover option in the upper left. And so now the white background is removed from our logo. Now the next thing I'm gonna do is I'm gonna scale up the image to be a little larger, and I'll get into why I'm doing that in just a minute here. So you can see that there are little controls here on the side. And so I'm hovering over the left one here, and on my keyboard, I'm holding the Alt button on Windows, or it would be the Option button for Mac. So I'm gonna hold the Alt button and I'm gonna click and drag this thing right here. And I'm gonna bring this in until it's right around 700 pixels. All right, so 699 should actually be perfect. As long as we have the same width and height, it will work. So I'm gonna leave it at 699 and let go of everything. So you can see that that brought in the left and the right side here. And so now we're gonna do that for the top and bottom. So I'm once again gonna hold the Alt key on Windows or the Option key for Mac. And I'm gonna come to this top control here, and I'm gonna click and drag while holding the Alt button, and I'm gonna scroll that down until it matches the 699 that we had in the width. All right, perfect. So you can see that it says width 699 and height 699. As long as it's a perfect square, we'll be good to go. So I'm gonna let go. Okay, so we have a perfect square that is a little more cropped in for our image. And you may even notice that ChatGPT doesn't even necessarily have this logo perfectly centered. So I can even tell right now that there's a little more space on the top of the B here than there is on the bottom, but that's not gonna matter because we're eventually gonna crop this image. So don't worry about that if that's the case. So now that we have a more cropped area around our image, we're gonna expand this image and blow it up a little bit. And how we're gonna do that is we're once again gonna hold the Alt key on Windows or the Option key on Mac, and I'm gonna come up to any of these corners here, and I'm gonna click and drag any of these corners while holding the Alt key, and we're gonna expand that out until it perfectly snaps in to this square right here. So once again, you can see that it's now 1024 by 1024. So what that did is it blew up our PNG image so that it's a little bit larger. And the reason why I did that is that I want to vectorize this logo. And what I mean by that is if I zoom in here, you can see that the edges of this image are blurry. And that's because we're using a PNG image. And when we have a small icon in the upper left of our website, it's honestly probably not gonna be noticeable, but I like vectorizing these images because what that means is you'll be able to infinitely scale your logo when you're done, and it will look high resolution no matter how big your logo is. So I'm gonna scroll back out here. And so what we've done so far is we've removed the background of our image, and then we've blown up our image to be slightly larger. All right, and one other thing is we're gonna give this a name in Canva. And so I'm gonna come up here where it says Untitled Design, and I'm gonna click in here, and I'm gonna type Ethan-Blackwell-logo and press enter. All right, so the next step we're gonna do is we're gonna download this image so that we can throw it into a vectorizer tool, which is automatically gonna vectorize it for us. So I'm gonna come up here to the upper right where it says share and click this. And then I'm gonna come down to the option that says download. And you can see that it defaults to PNG. This is what we want for this part of the tutorial. So make sure that it's set to PNG here. And then the size is set to 1024 by 1024. And then this is very important. Make sure that you have the option enabled that says transparent background. That's gonna ensure that the background is transparent and does not have a color on it. And then we're gonna come down and choose the download button. All right, so you can see that it downloaded our Ethan Blackwell logo here. It's time to put it into a vectorizer. All right, so here I am on a vectorizer tool. The site is vectorizer.ai. And one note is that at the time of making this video, this tool is currently free if you use it on the web, but at some point they are going to be charging to use this. And so if I come up to the pricing here, I'm gonna click this. You can see that the web app is free while they're in beta. And like I said, by the time you watch this, it might be out of beta and it might cost something, but the API here, which is not something that you're gonna mess with, it costs around $10 for 50 images. But if you do find that this does cost, I'd either just pay this small amount of money that it costs for the image because it's well worth it. Or another option is to try to find another free vectorizer tool online by simply going to Google and searching free vectorizer. But anyway, since this is free for the time being, I'm gonna show you how this works. So I'm gonna click on the logo here to go back to the home page, and it says trace pixels to vectors in full color. And if we scroll down here, you can see it in action. And so earlier I showed you that when we zoomed in on our logo, the edges of everything were blurry because it's simply just an image. But if you vectorize the image, it takes all that blurriness away and makes it really, really sharp no matter how large the logo ends up being. And so here's a little thing that shows it in action. So before you can see that it's all pixelated like this, but then after it's done, it perfectly smooths out every single one of those lines using an algorithm. And then as it goes all the way through here, you can see how much better that looks. And then even if this logo was massive, it's still gonna look that clean. So let's scroll back up here, and it says drag image here to begin, or you can just choose this. So I'm gonna click this, and I'm gonna choose the PNG image that we downloaded from Canva. All right, so I've chosen that image, and it goes through this short process where it uploads, processes, and fetches, and it's already done within a few seconds here. Now, before we look at the before and after here, there's one important thing that I wanna point out. So in the upper left here, you can see that there is a color palette option. So I'm gonna click on that, and you wanna make sure that the palette here is chosen to show two colors. So the two colors are transparent, which is used for the background, and then this black color that is used for the logo. Because in some cases, when I was downloading images from ChatGPT Plus, it did have a gradient in there that I didn't even recognize. And when it went to vectorize the logo, it had a number of different shades of gray throughout the logo, and that is not what we want. And so what you can do is you can actually just choose two colors here. So if it's showing more, it might show 3, 4, or 5. Just choose 2, and what it will do is make sure that the background is transparent and the logo is all a solid color, which is what we want. So once you have 2 colors chosen, come here and click OK. All right, so let's zoom in here and show you how cool this is. So I'm gonna zoom in here, and you can see that on the left-hand side here, you can see how blurry the edges are. But now on the right-hand side, you can see that it took those edges and made them perfectly straight all the way around, and the entire logo just looks so much better than it did before. So that is exactly what we want to put this into Canva and continue adding our name. So once you have verified that the vectorization worked properly, you can come up here to the download button and choose that. So it will show you a screen here with various options. I keep all of these options set as the default, and then I'm gonna click download. All right, so now that we have our Vectorized logo downloaded from the Vectorizer.ai, what we're gonna do is import that new Vectorized logo into Canva here. So here I am on the original image that I had. This was the PNG image. We actually no longer need this, so I'm gonna make sure that it's selected by clicking on it, and then I'm just gonna click the delete button on my keyboard. So that removes our PNG image, and now we want to import in our new vectorized logo. So I'm gonna come up here to File and choose that, and I'm gonna come down and click the Import Files option. It will show this little modal here. I'm gonna click Choose Files, and choose the new vectorized logo that we just got from Vectorizer.ai. All right, so that came and uploaded right here. You can see that I've been messing around with this logo a lot, but I'm gonna choose that option that just uploaded into my sidebar here, and I'm gonna click that, and that instantly imports it in onto our page here. And I'm gonna close out of the sidebar here using this button here. And then now let's zoom in on this image. So I'm gonna zoom in here, and you can see that all of our edges are perfectly clean now, and it is no longer a blurry image like we had before. So this is awesome. I'm gonna scroll back out here. And so now what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna blow this image up so it takes up the remainder of this entire canvas. So I'm once again gonna hold the Alt key on Windows or the Option key on Mac, and then I'm gonna grab one of these corners and I'm gonna click and drag until it goes up here. And I'm actually just gonna make sure it's centered here, and we're gonna blow it up a little bit more. Okay, perfect. So I've blown it up until it snapped into place on the square here and made sure that it's perfectly centered. 100. So that's looking good, and that sets us up for the next step. All right, so now what we need to do is we need to crop this image down. So right now, this entire SVG logo is taking up all of this space, including all of this excess space on the outside of our logo. And we don't want that when we go to add our name. And so we want to crop this down so it takes up only the bounds of this logo. So what we're gonna do is make sure the logo is chosen here, and in the upper left, we're gonna choose the crop option. And you can see that it's set to freeform, which is what we wanna do. And so what you can then do is grab the controls in the corners here, and you can come and crop this to whatever you like. And so we're gonna crop this and get rid of as much of the excess space around the logo as we can. And so one way to help you do that is zooming in on your image. So I'm gonna zoom in, and you can also use this zoom option in the bottom of your screen here, and you can simply just use that to zoom however you would like. So I'm gonna scroll up here, and I'm gonna zoom in a little bit more so that we can really see this. And what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna crop this until there are only just a few pixels left around the logo. It doesn't need to be absolutely perfect. I would leave just a couple pixels of room. And then we're gonna go around here. I'm gonna scroll to the right here. I'm gonna grab this corner, and I'm gonna crop that in and make sure there's a little bit of room on the right of the B, and then lift this up a little bit so there's a little room on the top. All right, now let's scroll down here. It looks like it's good here. We can still see a tiny bit of space to the right of the B here. And then I'm gonna grab this corner up here, and we're gonna bring this up so the bottom just has a few pixels of space, and we're gonna make the right just like that. All right, so now if I scroll left here, you can see that there's just a tiny bit of space around it. We're gonna scroll up. That looks good all the way up. There's a little bit of space on the top, and we're gonna come all the way over, and there's a little bit of space on the right. So that looks good. I'm gonna zoom back out here and click off everything. All right, perfect. So you can see that the bounds of this logo have been shrunk to take away all of the extra space on the outside of the logo. Now it's time to add our name to this logo. And so I'm gonna create a horizontal logo where I have this logo on the left side and then my name off to the right. So in order to do that, we need to create a new design in Canva. So I'm gonna come up to where it says File, and I'm gonna click Create New Design. And then I'm gonna choose the very first option here that says Custom Size. Now, depending on how long your name is, that might determine the width that you want to go for. But Ethan Blackwell has a pretty long last name, and I'd rather you make this too wide rather than not wide enough, because we can always shrink it when we need to. So for the width here, I'm gonna type 960 for pixels. And then for the height, I'm gonna put in 240. So you can see I have 960 by 240. I have pixels chosen, and I'm gonna click the button that says Create New Design. All right, great. So here is our brand new canvas that we're going to use to create our horizontal logo. So this will open up in a new tab, but what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna click up here into my previous tab, and I'm gonna click off here so we no longer have the file option open. And then I'm gonna choose our cropped image right here. Once again, make sure that the bounds are right around your logo here. And then I'm gonna press Control C on Windows or Command C on Mac. And then we're gonna go into our new tab with our new canvas here. And I'm gonna press Control V on Windows or Command V on Mac. And boom, there you have it. We have the logo perfectly set here on the left side of our image, and that's looking great. And if we zoom way in here, all I'm doing to zoom is I'm holding Control and I'm using my mouse wheel to scroll in. You can see that we have just enough space on the top of the image here and on the left. And if we scroll down, there's just about a pixel of space on the bottom, and that's perfect. So nothing's cut off, but it's still right along the bounds of our canvas. And so I'm gonna zoom back out here. So with our logo set on our left side, the next thing we're gonna do is add our name. So in the left-hand side here, I'm gonna choose the text option, and then I'm gonna click the item that says add a heading. So it adds a text box right here, and I'm gonna type Ethan. Now the font and the font size that you use is completely up to you, but I'm gonna show you what I like to do, and maybe it will give you some ideas for what you wanna do for your logo. So the first thing I'm gonna do is I'm gonna double click on Ethan here to select all the text, and then I'm gonna go into the font drop down up here. And I personally love using geometric fonts for personal branding. I think that they look really modern and clean. And what's really nice about Canva is they have a ton of options for geometric fonts, or really any type of font that you'd like. So if you'd like to use a geometric font, you can see that there are different font types up here, and I'm gonna click this arrow a few times, and you'll see that eventually here, there's an option here for geometric. So here it is right here, there's a geometric option, so I'm gonna click that, and that will filter down the Canva fonts to only show geometric fonts here, and there's a lot of really nice ones here. And the font that I'm gonna use for this tutorial is called Glacial Indifference. And what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna make the first name a lighter font weight, so it's gonna be a thinner font. And then I'm gonna make the last name a bold version of that font. And so if you would like to do the same thing, you'll wanna make sure that you choose a font option that has the little arrow here on the left-hand side. So if I click that, you can see that there's both a regular font weight and a bold font weight. And so you'll definitely want to use a font that has multiple options like this, where you can see light, regular, or bold if you want to go for the same concept that I'm doing. But if you only want a single font weight, then it doesn't matter. You don't need the different options here. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to choose regular here for the Glacial Indifference font weight. All right, so that changed my name here. And then the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to make my name all uppercase. So you can either type it to be all uppercase, or you can come up here where it says uppercase. And so I'm gonna choose that in the menu option up here. All right, so that made my name all uppercase here. And then the next thing I'm gonna do is I'm going to increase the font size for this name here. So up here in the font size, I'm gonna click that and I'm gonna scroll down here and I'm gonna choose a font size of 96. All right, so that increased our font size. One other thing I'm gonna do is I'm gonna click in here and I'm gonna choose this option for alignment and just make sure that the text is left aligned. All right, so it didn't do anything for here, but I wanna just make sure that our text is left aligned, which will make it easier to align our first name with our last name once we add it. All right, so since I'm in typing mode, I'm just gonna click off and I'm gonna click and drag this name like this. And what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna snap this to the right of our logo here. And you'll see that as I drag this logo here and get it close to the logo, it snaps into place. And you can see that there's a little dotted line showing that it's aligned with the right side of our logo. And so just make sure that it is snapped to the right of your logo. And then just put this roughly where you're gonna want it vertically. We will get this cleaned up in just a little bit, but I'm gonna put it around here. All right, so we have that added, and now what we're gonna do is we're gonna add our last name, and we will add some space in between the logo and the names after that. So with this text element chosen, I'm gonna press Control-C on Windows or Command-C on a Mac, and then I'm just gonna immediately press Control-V, and that will duplicate our text element here. And so I'm gonna take this and I'm gonna drag it so that it's perfectly in line with the other one. And again, it just needs to be in the general vicinity of where we are gonna want it vertically. And we'll polish that up in just a second here. But I'm gonna put that there. I'm gonna double click in here and I'm gonna type Blackwell. All right, awesome, so that's added. And like I said, to add a little more texture and just make this logo pop a little more, I'm gonna make the last name a bold font weight. So I'm gonna double click on here to highlight all of the text. I'm gonna come up to the font dropdown up here. Then I'm gonna click on the arrow next to Glacial Indifference, and I'm gonna choose the bold option right here. All right, great, so that has bolded our last name, and I'm gonna click off now and click off one more time. All right, that is looking great. We have Ethan written up here in a lighter font weight. We have the last name Blackwell written in a nice bold font. And then we have our logo off here to the left-hand side. Now what we need to do is add a little bit of horizontal spacing in between our logo and our name here. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna click the text element with my first name here, and you can use the arrow keys on your keyboard to move around the text element. But what's really nice is you can move it in increments if you hold down the shift key. And so what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna hold down the shift key on my keyboard, and then I'm gonna press the right arrow on my keyboard 3 times. So I'm holding down shift and pressing right, 1, 2, 3. And you can see that each time I did that, it moved it in an increment 3 different times, and that gives it a nice little space. And so I'm gonna do the same thing for the last name here. So I'm gonna choose the last name text element. I'm gonna hold down the shift key again, and I'm gonna press right, 1, 2, 3. And you can actually see that when I did that, I'll press left and then right again. You can see that it showed that line for a second on the left-hand side. So you can see that it's showing that it's lined up with that, which is really, really nice. All right, so I'm gonna click off of the last name element here. So this is looking really good. I wanna just make sure that these names are lined up correctly vertically. So this is a little trick in Canva, and it might be a little confusing, but I'll try to explain it as best as I can. So what I'm gonna do to make sure that these are lined up vertically is I'm gonna first click on the first name here, and then I'm gonna hold down the Alt key on Windows or the Option key on Mac, and I'm gonna hover over the last name here. And you can see that it says 95. And what that means is from the very bottom of the canvas to the bottom of our Ethan element is 95 pixels. And then likewise, at the top where it says 100 there, it's indicating that from the top of the canvas to the top of the Blackwell name is 100 pixels. And so I just wanna make sure that those are matched up. So I'm gonna make sure that they're both around 99 pixels. So once again, like I said, from the bottom of our canvas to the bottom of the Ethan name is 95 pixels. So I need to move the Ethan name up 4 pixels. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna let go of Alt, and I have the Ethan name chosen, and I'm gonna press the up arrow on my keyboard 4 times. So 1, 2, 3, 4. So that moved it 4 pixels up. And so now with our first name chosen, I'm gonna hold down Alt again, and I'm gonna hover over the last name, and you can see that now it's 99 pixels from the bottom, and that's what we want. And the top one is 100. So it's very, very close. And so all we need to do is move the last name up 1 single pixel. And so what I'm gonna do is let go of Alt. I'm gonna choose the last name element here, and I'm gonna press up on my keyboard once. So I press up, and that moves it up 1 pixel. And now we have the last name chosen. I'm gonna hold Alt and hover over the top, and you can see that this is perfect now. We have 99 pixels from the top and from the bottom for each of these elements, so they are perfectly aligned vertically. All right, so let's click off here and look at it. So this is looking really, really nice. We have our logo on the left-hand side. It is perfectly butted up to our canvas here. We have our name, Ethan Blackwell. There's a little bit of space on the top and bottom for this, which I think looks really, really nice. And the very last thing that we want to do is just make sure that the canvas itself fits the logo so that we don't have this extra space on the right hand side here. So unfortunately, resizing your canvas here in Canva is actually a little tricky, but I'll show you what to do here. So like I said, this is our whole canvas that I have selected here. And you can see that our logo is butted up perfectly on the left hand side, but it's not on the right hand side. So what we want to do is simply reduce the width of this canvas so that it matches up perfectly with the right-hand side of our logo. So in order to do that, we first need to figure out how many pixels wide all of our elements are taking up. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna click off the canvas here, and then I have my mouse in the upper left here, and I'm gonna click and drag so that it comes and selects all of my elements here. So I have my logo selected, and then my first and last name, and I'll let go. And then you can see in the little toolbar that shows above it here, there's an option that says group. So I'm gonna choose that. And now what that does is it groups all 3 of those elements together, and now Canva is treating this entire thing as one single element. And so you can come and you can click and drag this whole thing, and it will move the whole thing all in one fell swoop. But I'm gonna let go. And if you ever make any mistakes, all you have to do is just press Control Z or Command Z on your keyboard, and it will undo your last action. All right, so now that we have all 3 of those elements grouped as one, what we're gonna do is we're gonna come up here to where it says position and choose this. And you can see in the left sidebar here, it tells you the width and height of your entire logo. And so you might have a whole number here, or you might have a decimal, but I'm just gonna make this easier by making this width a whole number. So right now my width is 927.1. I'm simply just going to click on here and delete the 0.1 and press enter. And that's going to automatically keep my ratio. You can see that the ratio is locked in here, and that will resize it ever so slightly to make sure that it is only 927 pixels rather than a decimal. Okay, so we know that from the left side of this logo to the right side of this logo is 927 pixels, but we made our canvas 960 pixels. And so what we're gonna do is we're simply gonna reduce the width of our canvas to be 927 pixels and keep the same height. So I'm gonna click off everything here, and we're gonna come up to this magic switch button. I'm gonna click this. And what we wanna do is resize our canvas. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna come down to this option that says custom size and choose this. And so you can see that it has our original 960 by 240 pixels in here. But what I'm gonna do is simply change this width to be 927, because that is the width of what all of our elements is, and keep the height at 240. And then what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna click the checkbox here, and then I'm gonna click continue. So you'll see this little preview mode will come up, and you'll get 2 options. And so the first option here is the copy and resize. And what that will do is it will completely copy this design and give you a whole new tab with a new design with that resized canvas in there. And so if you wanna keep this original one, or you're afraid you might mess something up, you can choose that option. Otherwise, I'm just gonna keep it simple, and all I'm gonna do is I'm gonna choose the second option here, which says resize this design. And what that does is it keeps the same design, but all it does is resizes the canvas directly in here. So I'm gonna choose resize this design. And so here it is resized. I'm just gonna hide the sidebar here so we have a little more room. And one thing you might notice is that there's still extra space on the right-hand side. And that's because when you resize your canvas in Canva, it scales down everything, including all of your elements. So if you remember from earlier, our font size was 96, and now it has scaled that down to 94.3. So we don't want that. So what we wanna do is make sure that we have all of our elements chosen here. and these should still be grouped from the previous step. And so we have all of our elements chosen here, and we're going to go back up to the position option in the toolbar here. And you can see in the sidebar on the left that it has scaled our image down to be 910.8 pixels. But we already know what we want the width to be. So all we have to do is reset the width to what it was. So I'm going to come in here, I'm going to select the width, and I'm going to type 927. And keep in mind, that was the same amount of pixels that we had that we resized our canvas to. And then I'm going to press enter. All right, awesome. So you can see that it has scaled up, and it now goes edge to edge from left to right. But one thing I've noticed is that it ever so slightly changed the vertical alignment. So the bottom of the B is getting ever so slightly cut off here. So in the position tab here still, I'm gonna click the option here that says align to page middle. So I'm gonna click that, boom. All right, so it shifted it up ever so slightly. And now if I hold control and use my mouse wheel to scroll in here, you can see that we have just a little bit of space on the top of the B. All the way down here on the left side. On the bottom here, there's about 1 pixel, and I'll zoom back out here. And now our logo goes perfectly from left to right. The canvas is completely cropped to fit our logo perfectly, and this is looking awesome. One thing that I did want to mention for your main logo here is that if you do want to change any colors, you're more than welcome to before you go and save this off. And so any of these individual elements, in fact, you can come in here and I can click on this logo and I can come up to the color here and you can change it to any of the colors that you have in your brand kit, or really any color that you like. And so if you have your brand kit set in here and you want to add a pop-up color, you could set this to your main brand color if you want, or you can change the name color. I personally like having the logo be one solid dark color. And so you might want to come in and maybe just change the whole entire logo to be the third color in your color palette if you want, which in Ethan's case is going to be a very dark brown, or your case, it might be a dark gray or a dark blue, or you can just leave it be all black. So if you did set it to be the third color in your color palette, it would look something like this. And then I would come in here and I would change the text color here for the first name and set that to the third color, and then come in to the last name here, choose the text color and choose the third color there. And so you can see that that just ever so slightly lightened the logo. And then that way it looks slightly more branded because it's using the third color in your global color palette. But for the sake of this tutorial, I'm just gonna change these all to be all black. All right, so I'm gonna click off everything, and you are officially done with creating your very own customized personal branding logo. And even though I explained this pretty slowly, step by step, just so that you understood everything, we just created our own logo using AI and Canva Pro in less than 30 minutes. And I'll be showing how to create your very own personalized Favicon logo right after this. But first of all, we need to get this logo exported and saved off. One really quick last thing before we download this image is that the name up here changed, and it's just showing the first name because we added a new design. And so I'm gonna click in here and I'm gonna type Ethan-Blackwell-logo, and then probably add -with-name. So Ethan Blackwell logo with name, and click off. And then we can go and download this image. So with your logo fully complete, I'm gonna come up here to the upper right where it says share and click on that. We're gonna come down to the option that says download. And now here you have a couple of export options. You can export it as a PNG, which is a regular image like we started with, which I wouldn't really recommend because that's why we vectorized the logo in the first place. But if you would like, you can choose PNG. And if you do choose PNG, make sure that you have the transparent background chosen like this, so that it does not add a color in the background. And then I would also choose the option to compress the file, which will make the file size smaller. And since this is the logo going in the very top of your page, your logo is going to be loading with every single image. And so you want to make sure that it is the smallest file size possible. So that's why we choose the compressed file option here. But as I mentioned, PNG is just the first option, and I actually have another recommended option instead of PNG. So if we click on the drop down here, I'm going to scroll down and we're actually going to save this as a SVG. So I'm going to choose SVG here. And then very, very important, make sure that you have transparent background chosen for here. And the reason we're choosing SVG is because we're saving it as a scalable vector graphic. And as I mentioned several times earlier in the video, that was the whole reason why we vectorized the logo in the first place, because now no matter how large we make this logo, it's gonna look really, really clean and have sharp edges and won't be blurry at all. And so that's really nice because then you can use this logo in the upper left of your website. You could use it on entire landing pages. You could do whatever you'd like with this logo, and it's never going to look blurry. And one little important side note is that WordPress by itself does not support SVG images, but that's why we are installing the very, very simple plugin called Safe SVG on our website, which allows you to upload your own SVG images to your website. Another nice perk to SVG images is that in general, SVG images tend to be a smaller file size than PNGs. And so if we can keep your logo as small as possible for a file size, that means that it's going to load extra fast when people go to load pages on your website. So with SVG chosen for the file type and transparent background enabled, I'm gonna come down here and click the download button. All right, awesome. So it has downloaded our SVG logo for Ethan Blackwell logo with our name. And we will then take this logo in a later video and upload it to our website. All right, so now that we have our personal branding logo completely created with our name, I'm gonna show you really quick how to create your own favicon for your website, which is the little logo that appears up in the tabs when someone is on your website. So if you remember earlier in this video, we had created just the logo, and this is the Vectorized logo, the one that we added after we ran it through Vectorizer.ai. And then what we did is cropped down the image to get rid of the excess space on the outside of this image. And what we're gonna do is we're gonna use this same canvas, which was a 1024 by 1024 pixel canvas, to create our favicon logo really quickly here. So one thing I'm gonna do is I'm gonna hold down Alt on Windows or Option on Mac, and I'm actually just gonna make this a little bit smaller for now. We might end up bumping it up, but I just wanna make this smaller so we can see things a little better. And then I'm gonna create a circle favicon logo because those are what I like using. I think that they look really clean. And so what we're gonna do is on the left-hand side here, we're gonna choose elements. And you'll see that there's an option here that says shapes. So I'm gonna press right here, and you can see that there's a circle here. So I'm gonna click that. And so that adds a circle right here. All right, and then I'm going to hold down Alt on Windows or Option on a Mac, and then I'm gonna click and drag this corner all the way until it snaps into place here and takes up the whole canvas. And one thing you'll notice is that the circle is now covering our logo. And so what we're gonna do is I'm actually gonna click off of the circle here. We're gonna hover over here again, and I'm gonna right click. And then there's an option here that says layer, and I'm gonna click the option that says send to back. So now it's pretty hard to see, but you can see that our logo is now showing on top, and the circle itself, that layer is now at the back and showing behind our logo. So that's what we want. The next thing I'm gonna do is I'm going to change this circle color to be the main brand color that I got when I set my Cadence global color palette. All right, so in order to change the color of this circle, I'm gonna come up here to this color option in the toolbar and click that. And now you can see on the left-hand side here that I have my Start Blogging 101 brand kit, which I showed you how to set up, and that should have all 9 of your colors from your global color palette, plus any additional colors that you've added. And so if you have set this up, you could simply just choose the color of your choosing from right here in your brand kit. Otherwise, if you want to add your own color, you can simply come up here and paste in a hex code. So since I want to match Ethan Blackwell's branding colors, I've already copied the hex code for his main brand color, and I'm gonna paste it in here, and then you can see that it says from your search is this color right here. So I'm gonna click that, and that goes and automatically changes the color of our circle, which is looking really nice. And then what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take this logo, I'm gonna click the logo here, and I'm gonna change this logo to be white. So I'm gonna press the X to clear out the option here, and then you can see that there are different document colors here, or if you don't see white in the options here for whatever reason, you can come up to the search bar here and type a hash and then FFF FFF, and you'll see that pure white shows up from your search. So I'm gonna click that. And so that changed our logo white, and that's looking awesome. If you want to make this smaller or bigger, you can hold down the Alt/Option key, and then you can come in here and make this bigger or smaller. So I might just make it somewhere around here. And then the last thing we wanna do is just make sure that this is centered both horizontally and vertically. So with our logo chosen, I'm gonna click the position option in the toolbar, and then where it says align to page, I'm gonna click middle for vertical alignment, and I'm gonna click center for horizontal alignment. And that snaps that perfectly into place. And because we have cropped that logo to get rid of the extra spacing, that should center it real nicely in the middle of your favicon. And then I'm gonna click off everything here, and I'm gonna hide my sidebar. And there's your favicon right there. It's completely done. It's looking awesome. And this will look really, really good for having the site icon that shows up in tabs. And really quick, before we do save this off, I am just going to change the name up here from Ethan Blackwell Logo and just change that to say Ethan Blackwell Favicon, Favicon, and click off. And then we can go and save it. So in order to save this off, there's a couple things that I'm gonna have you change. So come up to the upper right where it says share and click that. Come down to where it says download. And then for this, I'm gonna have you keep it as a PNG because we are not gonna use an SVG for this image. We're gonna keep it as a PNG. It's currently set to 1024 by 1024, but it honestly doesn't even need to be that big and it's only gonna make it larger. And so I'm gonna take this and I'm actually gonna drag it down until it's the very first option, which is 512 by 512, which is exactly half of the original resolution that we had. And then what I'm gonna have you do is click transparent background. So we want the transparent background because we don't want this white to show in our favicon. And then we're also gonna compress the file so that it is a smaller file size. And then we're gonna click download. All right, so you can see that it has gone and downloaded our Ethan Blackwell favicon, and we are ready to upload this to our website. All right, so there you have it. We just created your very own personal branding logo for your website using AI plus Canva Pro. And we also created the favicon icon for your website, and we'll be uploading these to your website in a later video. I hope you enjoyed this video. This is something that I had been working on for the last several weeks and trying to figure out a really cool way to create your very own customized logo in under 30 minutes. And I think that this is a pretty awesome solution. As I mentioned in the beginning of the video, AI tools continue to get better and better with every passing month. And so don't be surprised if there are new AI models or tools available in the near future that make this process even easier. The branding of your website is really coming along. We now have your entire Cadence global color palette set. Plus we have your personal branding logo and your favicon for your website, and it's all gonna look really good together. I hope you enjoyed this video. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next one.